Millan here, and today on the show I have none other than Maddix. And in case you don't know who he is, you're going to learn a little bit about him today. He's an international speaker, book author of 10 books, the father of Caleb Maddix, someone I personally admire.
Yeah, most people think he's my brother, but I'm actually his dad.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Your younger brother.
Yeah, I'm his older brother, you know.
Yeah,
That's
of
right.
course. And also the founder of Maddix Publishing. I want to
Right.
talk about that as well. So, we are here at the Funnel Hacking Live event. Matt was one of the speakers. I loved your speech, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And please, first of all, share with us, what were you doing before becoming what you are today? What was
That's
your
a
background?
great question. Well, first of all, I'm honored to be on this show today, and I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And when Caroline interviewed my son last year, I was like, you know what? I love how real you are. We've met a few times at events, so keep doing the good work that you're doing out there. And thank you guys for watching and listening. So basically, my backstory is, you know, I started out in ministry. You know, I started out as a youth pastor, reaching teenagers across America.
Wow.
I built youth groups up to, you know, started from like 12 and built it up to 200, and just, you know, learned a lot about speaking and really coaching and transforming people's lives just by dealing with teenagers. Because when you're dealing with 250 teenagers and you're their leader, you know, you learn a lot about, you know, how to motivate, how to inspire. And so that kind of like prepared me for what I'm doing now. I'm no longer doing that now, but it was good training ground for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you transition from there to...
It was one of those things where, just to be vulnerable and honest with you, it was just, I didn't really believe in the particular organization that I was a part of. And that kind of goes back to integrity, and even in sales, like, you can't sell what you don't believe in.
I agree.
So for me, it was just like, even though, and that was hard because I was making good money, but I just didn't believe in it anymore. And so out of integrity, I was like, you know what, it's time for a change. And that's what kind of transitioned me into doing what I'm doing today.
Love it. What's the first book you wrote?
First book I wrote was called The Healing Power of Juicing. And it's because I was once 60 pounds overweight. And I lost weight. Yeah, I was, and I lost the weight through juicing, and I got really excited about how much that changed my energy, and I watched it change my son's energy.
Awesome.
So that was my first book, The Healing Power of Juicing.
What's your latest book?
My latest one, actually, I just released. It's called Parents for Success, and it's secrets that any parent in the world can use to truly teach and train their kids how to become successful. So it's like the top 10 secrets of what I did. And then I'm writing 2 new books right now. One's called Sales Shark, and how to be a sales shark, because I'm really passionate about sales.
Well, sales.
And then I'm writing another one called The Return of the Alpha Gentleman, because there's a lot of teaching in the alpha community about how to be an alpha male. But sadly, a lot of that, they teach these men how to be these badasses, but not how to be a gentleman, not how to truly treat a lady. So I'm going to take those guys on, and I'm going to show men how to still be alpha, but also know how to treat a lady.
I love it. I love that. So, how did you start, like, you know, we've heard the story, at least I've heard the story from Caleb about how you started, you know, motivating him to read books, and you started compensating him for that. What gave you that idea? Like, what was your intention, and how did that start?
That's a great question. My son used to be extremely shy. Like, I'm talking, he wouldn't even look people in the eye. He was so insecure. He walked with his head down. His energy was low, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is my son. And so I knew the power of personal development in my own life, and I really never thought of, like, getting my son into it. It just never really dawned on me. And so when I realized how shy he really was, and the fact that he lacked so much confidence, I was like, I got to get him into personal growth.
Yeah.
Well, how do you motivate a kid to get into personal growth, right? So I was like, I'll tell you what, you're going to read this book. I'll give you $20 for every time you read a book, and you give me a half-page report on what you learned, and then teach me what you learned, because that's how you learn the fastest, is by teaching.
Yes.
So I would have him teach it back to me. And, you know, it just like, that's what motivated him to get into personal growth. And then he just fell in love with reading and studying, and like, it transformed his life. So that's kind of, I just knew that there was the only way he was going to break through and get out of his his insecurity and become a confident kid was through personal growth.
No, I don't have any children yet, but I always think I'm going to do that if I have one.
That's awesome.
Hopefully I get
yeah,
one.
one day down the road,
it.
just save up those 20s because he started reading books fast. He's like, got to get that money.
Yeah.
But you know what? Also, I was subconsciously teaching him because those that learn the most earn the most. So what you become is determined by who you hang with and what you read. And the highest paid people in the world are all, if you look at the one thing they all have in common, they read a lot. Reading is the secret to wealth. It really is, because you can get so much knowledge and wisdom for only like $15. So either way, you're going to get paid for what you read anyway. So I wanted to teach him young, subconsciously, that, hey, life rewards you when you study and you develop yourself.
Yes. That's absolutely true. What is one of the most life-changing stories you guys have heard from people, whether it's kids or parents, from doing what you guys do?
Absolutely. We had a dad who's a police officer in Los Angeles, okay? And he reached out to us. His son was 7 years old. And same thing, no confidence at all. I mean, almost as bad or as worse as what Caleb had. He reached out. He went through our program. And the kid had a major transformation. His name's Julian Alfaro. And now, he's spoken with Ty Lopez. He speaks to he's 8 years old. He's been on the Ryan Seacrest show. And he's written his first book called The Elementary Entrepreneur. And he goes door to door selling. He's a little sales. So and he speaks, we've spoken at 3 events together. So he's speaking all over America, and here he is, he's 8 years old.
Oh my God.
Just by going through, learning the stuff that we use that worked for Caleb, also worked for this 7-year-old kid.
Wow. What would you say is the number one skill that you guys are teaching these kids?
You know what, the number one, I'll give you 3 fast because they all 3 work together.
Yes.
One is you have to get your kids into personal growth every day. Now let's suppose your kids don't like to read audiobooks or YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I started Caleb on Tony Robbins. The good news for any of you parents out there is you have Caleb Maddix. Just go to YouTube and look him up.
Send it to him.
Yeah, he'll be able to relate with your kids. That's one. 2 is I got Caleb. I would encourage any of you to get into making money daily, because money is energy. Money is power. And when I got Caleb to start saying, don't try to make money once a week, make money every day, that transformed him, because he got in that energy, and it stretched him to say, okay, how much money can I make today, right? And then number 3 is your mission. So any parent, any kid, any entrepreneur out there, if you do those 3 things on the daily and you really have a mission that you're obsessed with, that's why big goals are so important. So with Caleb, I was like, here's the biggest key. You ready? How fast can you make $1,000? So he did it. And then he made $10,000. And then he made $100,000 by age 14. I was like, okay, if you're not a millionaire by the time you're 18, you literally deserve to go to prison. You should. I promise you deserve to go to prison more than a criminal does.
Yes.
So then, it really shook him, and he became a millionaire by 16. So that's a key.
There you go. I love that. I love the story of you guys, because I feel like you're inspiring you're inspiring generations.
Yeah.
Children, teenagers, adults, people like me. So I'm super grateful. Now,
thank you.
Tell us a little more about the company, about what you guys are doing. I know you have Maddix Publishing. What is that about? What can you guys do for people?
Yeah, I'll tell you a story why we did it. We've written together 19 books, and honestly, most publishing companies out there they're like the bullies at school.
Yeah.
So we actually started our own publishing company to be anti-bullying, to save people from the horrible nightmare experience from all these other publishing companies.
Yes.
And then truthfully, anybody can write a book, right? But we train our authors how to become influencers. And most of our authors, within the first 6 months of applying our training, are landing their first paid speaking gigs. One of them was a counselor, and she didn't want to do that anymore because she was tired of selling her time. And she went through our process, finished her book in 2 months, She didn't believe it was possible. She'd been wanting to write a book for 7 years. She went to one publisher.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, and they tried to charge her like $35,000. It's going to take you 2 years. We're like, no, we'll help you. So she finished it in 2 months, went through our speaker training, because we teach all of our authors how to build speaking businesses. And she just landed her 9th paid speaking gig in less than a year.
Wow.
Speaking to 1,500 women in Chicago.
Wow.
So like, that's where the transformation is. Yes, we're the best in the world at finishing your book with no stress, and it's such an awesome, fun experience. But beyond that is what we teach our authors to do with the book: how to make money, how to market it, how to use the book to get speaking gigs or grow a coaching business. And of course, Caleb's a social media master, so he teaches our authors how to really like influence on social media.
That's so important today. I mean, if you're not there, you're missing out on so many people that you can touch.
Right, exactly.
Content.
Right. But look what you're doing. You're doing it. So.
I'm doing my best here. The best
It's
I can.
awesome.
Actually, I think I can do much better. What's your advice for people who want to write a book or want to get this thing started?
Absolutely. My number one piece of advice would be this. See, the reason why people don't write a book is because you don't believe you're a writer. You're afraid nobody will read it. You don't know how to get started. You're stuck with all the details.
Yeah.
First things first, set a deadline, no matter what. And it's got to be this type of deadline. Don't just say, I want to write a book. Say, okay, I'll have my first draft done and in the hands of my editor by 5 p.m. March 29th, 2019. That's a true deadline. Number 2 is all you have to do is think about your ideal reader. And what we do is we teach our authors the 21 questions that you need to ask before you write your book. And I'll give you a few of them. Some of them are like, you got to ask the question, what is my ideal reader? What is their pain? What is their fears? Why are they crying? Where are they hurting? What are their problems, right? And then all you got to do is literally then ask yourself, what's my best advice for them? So if if I was going to write a book on weight loss, I would know that people that are overweight, they don't like to work out, they're afraid they're going to have to give up pizza, they hate broccoli, so there's all these limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do as the author is just write to that and share stories over content. A lot of people, when they write, they just want to share a lot of content, and that's
just
good.
Bomb it out there.
Yeah, but just share your story. And my best piece of advice when you're writing, don't edit when you're writing. Set writing blocks of time. So let's say I was coaching her to write. I would say, okay.
Coach me.
I would say set this 90 minutes, and in these 90 minutes, turn your phone off, and whatever you do, just literally type. Type what your story is, right? Just whatever it is, and don't edit. Let's say you I don't know if I should say this, or does this sound right? Because then you get into your analytical mind. You want to learn how to flow. See, the editor can fix all that for you. And if you'll do time blocks, you'll finish a book fast. Like you, I guarantee you, I'm going to challenge you right here on your podcast.
Yes, please do.
Here we go. If starting next week, if you took a weekly 90-minute time block,
okay,
in less than probably 6 weeks, you would literally have your first draft done. Because there's a power in 90-minute time blocks with no distractions on one thing. Especially with writing, there's so much you can actually do in 90 minutes if you don't allow yourself to stop and get analytical. If you'll just keep typing and say, I'll let the editor fix that, I'm not even going to stop. And you'll flow, you'll get it done.
All right.
Does that fire you up?
Challenge
accepted right here on the podcast.
Awesome. This is ridiculous because I've been trying to write a book since 2016.
Okay.
I wrote the domain name and I started, I opened a blank document and I started typing and I got, 4,000, 5,000 words in 3 years.
Good job, though. At least you got it started.
I got it started, but now...
So I'm proud of you for that.
I got to finish it because I believe in the power of, you start something and you see it through. And that's such a sense of fulfillment.
Yes.
Have you ever had a moment where, you started something, you didn't finish it, and then you look back and...
No, I've never had a moment. I've had thousands of moments.
Oh, okay, thousands.
In other words, yes. By now, I believe I should have already written. Had I executed 10 years ago and known what I know now about books, I probably would have already finished probably 75 books.
75 books.
I'm trying to write a book a month right now. That's what I'm working on. One
Yes.
book a month. I'm
One
trying to
book a
catch
month.
up. Yeah, because I have a
Wow.
lot of stuff I want to write about and share. So right now I just have a daily, I write daily for 30 minutes.
Yes.
That's it. 30 minutes
Okay.
and then boom. At the end
So-
of the month, I'm
So
done.
Yeah, you're done. So the formula is you start with the 90-minute blocks, and then when you're a pro like him, you write every day. 30
Then
minutes.
I'm just getting people started. I'm a daily writer now.
Yeah.
So it keeps me in practice and
Yes.
flow. You know what I mean? So I would say if you did a daily 30-minute time block to write, think of how much articles you have, how many resources, how much content. Most people don't do this type of stuff, and they could.
Yes.
And it doesn't require a lot of time.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think we overestimate
Yeah.
how much time it really takes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We
So-
overthink it.
Yeah, we overthink too much, and that's probably one of my biggest takeaways
Sure.
from this event too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like every speaker has been saying, including yourself, like just go do.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop messing around.
Right, absolutely.
What is your final piece of advice for our listeners and our viewers here who are
My
struggling
best-
with their
yeah.
business, with their life, with anything?
My final piece of advice for you is to remember one thing, my friends. It's all about energy. Okay? The reason why some of you are stuck, the reason why some of you might be in like lower frequencies, maybe a little bit of negativity, maybe fear, maybe even just self-doubt, or maybe you just low money energy, whatever it is, there's reasons for that. I'm going to help you with it real quick, okay? Number one is your spirituality. You have to have some form of spiritual practice that opens you up energetically. And a daily spiritual practice, whatever it is. Like there's millions of spiritual practices. Pick what resonates with you and develop a daily spiritual practice. Number two is your physical body. Like a lot of people don't realize that the foods that they're putting in their body, how much it's affecting them mentally, physically, emotionally. So like your goal every day is how can I get in the highest frequencies? How can I live in high energy? And I'm not talking about hyper and like, oh my God, super wired. I'm talking about you having that abundance, living in your full power. You like living from that place of flow, right? Where there's power, there's creativity, there's faith, there's not this there's positivity. Like nothing rattles you because you're at a higher frequency. And then number three is your relationships. Those three relationships impact energy. Like even being around Carolina, my energy rises just because she's real and she has an abundance to her, you know? And so getting around the right people, like I don't allow people, there's certain family and friends I don't allow around my son because they have low frequency.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm nice to them, but I don't allow them around my son. And last is, your money, right? So those four things daily, like you having daily relationship with money, with the right people, your spirituality, and I'm telling you, that stuff in your body, you don't have to get motivated anymore. See, you live motivated. You are motivation, right? The sun doesn't try to shine, it just shines. The waves don't try to flow in, they just, it's nature, right? Birds fly.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a person of power. Like you're supposed to be wealthy. You're supposed to be happy and full of peace. The reason why people are not is because like a phone, right? A phone dies, what do? You plug it in. You got to get plugged in, my friends, and you got to get the energy flowing in your life. That's my best advice.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So one last thing though.
Yeah.
You're so energetic. I love it.
Thank you.
So where does your energy come from? Like what is your biggest source of energy?
All of the stuff
From what
I
you just
mentioned.
mentioned.
Yeah, all the stuff I mentioned, and then probably like deep gratitude. I try to get in the sun a lot. Just being out in nature is huge.
Yes.
And just honestly, following my passion and serving and giving, those three things will put you in such high energy. Because literally every day, I give something away. That's my daily goal. Because giving will totally put you in a place of just like you're flying. You feel like you're flying all the time. So like every day, give something. Like blow someone's mind. It's called the wow factor. Our goal is to bring the wow factor every day. Every day.
I love it.
And then like just seriously, like serve people like crazy. The more you serve, the better energy you're going to have. So I guess that's what puts me in high energy.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm just happy to be alive.
Just happy to be alive. Grateful, happy.
I'm blessed.
Good karma. Yeah. Thank you, Matt, so
Man,
much.
thank you.
Where
Thank you
can
for having me.
Thank you. Where can people learn more about you? Where
I would just love to connect with you guys on Instagram and Facebook, social media, so I can serve you guys. And
it's going to be in the description.
Yeah, I see a lot of people like send people like sales pages, and that's cool. But let me serve you first. Just come on over to my social media and get some motivation and some good content. And Matt Maddix, Maddix. I look forward to connecting with y'all. Love you guys.
Thank you, man.
Man, you're amazing.